All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our continuing coverage here of the Dignitas Cup for Smite here. It is going to be, in fact, Team Dignitas playing in your next upcoming game versus Cognitive Gaming. The two powerhouses of the NA scene will be battling it out to see who takes on the winner of SK versus Denial NA in the finals. We'll be bringing you that second semifinals match just a moment after this one. However, we are in game here now, and we are getting underway. I'm going to hit that unpause button, and we are going to be taking a look at Team Dignitas. They are the blue team. The bottom of your minimap on the left side of your screen, it is Lassus, Zatman, the best, Anatolian, Shadowcube, playing in order. Hun, Bots, Apollo, Agni, Athena, and Bacchus over on the right side of your screen. They are the red team in the top of your minimap. Ladies and gentlemen, Cognitive Gaming, they are KO, Matty Pocket, Shing, MLC, Stealth, and Allied playing in order. Neath, Odin, Fenrir, Poseidon, and Amir, and it is indeed going to be Matty Pocket facing off against Anatoly in the solo side lane.
And that is going to be a pretty glorious battle. They let Anatoly have Athena, though, which is going to be relatively interesting just because, as like we said, Athena gets banned out basically every single game just because of how strong she is. But Odin, I mean, no one's going to complain about Odin's solo laning ability. Literally ever. So that is definitely going to be a throwdown.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're going to see it's not only is there a little bit of history between these two players, they also have some egos on the line here. Both of them considered at one point the very best in their role throughout Smite. You know, they've kind of shifted around roles, but Matty Pocket at one time really considered the premier support player in the NA scene. Anatoly was a sub for quite some time, but after multiple showings as being one of the top players, actually was given that starting role. And in fact, it was in some respects Matty's starting role on that former Root team. So we'll see what these guys are able to do if there is a clear advantage, or if they both look to just stall the game out.
We will definitely see here as we go into the start. We have got the pretty typical 3v2 setting up on each side here, going in to contest these middle camps. Here on the right, we have a freeze come out from here, and the Hand of the Gods is going to be enough to secure that mid cap, as it looks like Matty Pocket's actually left alone to just do as he pleases with the other one. Looks like Dignitas decided not to contest that one.
Yeah, indeed. So, and it looks like it's going to be that solo lane, right side short lane, so we're not going to see that Odin in the long solo lane versus 2. Another thing to note here is a look at the opening for Stealth. Super aggressive, going to go empty Doom Orb for his opening items.
And that is a very aggressive start, but I'm pretty sure Stealth is fairly confident in his abilities to play Poseidon, and he's not too concerned about starting off with that one. He's probably more than comfortable, and I'd say that's going to give him a huge, obviously, early game damage boost, and might be what he needs to outplay the best here on Agni.
It's just such an aggressive play, though, going up against a lineup of Dignitas. I mean, in the last few matches, you've basically seen them do nothing but attempt to really shut down the mid laner or that solo lane. Generally, they've been running the low key, but oh my goodness, left side of the map looks like we have a lot of initiation going down. Sorry, I'm missing the beginning of this, guys. Getting quite low here in the back of this is going to be that Amir played by Allied, and we're going to see the Brutalize come out onto Zatman, but he's going to turn around so beautiful. They may have enough damage to get him out. The moves is going to take him out of this to begin with. The minion still putting in damage. 3 players extremely low from Cognitive there. I think Dignitas takes the better of that fight.
Yes, does definitely show them they mean business in a 3v2 fight, coming out almost taking 2 kills there with both Shing and Ally dropping extremely low, but not able to secure either of them, as Apollo and Fenrir both decided their best interest at this point was just to leap out of that fight, which was definitely a good call. But that was a good battle for sure, even if it did not result in any death.
Yeah, just so very, very close there, and yeah, I mean, like, definitely getting the better of that fight, I think, is Team Dignitas. I mean, they get 3 players low in exchange for really 1, only the Apollo getting super low there, but a massive rotation coming out in the mid lane here as the Hun bots comes to clear the lane, and Bacchus is going to move right along to the right. And it's a little bit of a roaming Bacchus here. He is going to be running that Meditation and Hand of the Gods with the Heavenly, or what is this, Watcher's Will? Is that what we call this ability? Yeah, Watcher's Gift, I'm sorry. So, yeah, I mean, moving out with that Watcher's Gift as well. So he's going to be looking maybe to set up a little bit of that roaming role and look to build into his Midas boots and rely on passive gold to keep him in this game.
And we can definitely see he is just kind of pack roaming around there with Lassus just going on doing what they do. Thought they might have set up a gank there in the mid lane against MLC, but they decided not to for whatever reason, possibly because it's MLC and not quite that simple. Although I think they could have taken a potential early game kill there. I'm just waiting. First blood is going to be pretty big here. Just because both teams are very high skill, and any advantage, any lead they can get, they're going to be able to turn into a snowball. We can see Dignitas just kind of outfarm it a little bit with about a 500 gold advantage right now, but that's not really going to start to bloom until we start getting some fights with kills.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, until first blood, any gold advantage is really under about 500-600 is or maybe even 1,000 is not really that important. That first blood giving you that extra bonus gold here. But Anatoly hitting level 5, as is the Odin here now. So, sitting at level 5 on that Athena just means that, it's going to be even harder to gank any single target without a tremendous amount of burst damage or without bringing her down significantly beforehand to make her think twice about, just diving in with that ultimate.
And then it's a fantastic level of gank proofing there, and one of the reasons that Arena's like combined reason Athena there. One of the reasons Athena is very frequently banned out. You can set up the best gank in the world, and all Athena has to do is send a passing glance over and press 4, and pretty much shuts down any hope, unless you have got such a massive advantage at a 50% protection stack on whoever you're trying to gank, as well as what's basically a moving Ymir nuke coming in is not enough to dissuade you. Very powerful ability, and very good at defending against ganks.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what she brings to the table. I mean, she has decent, at best, clear potential between her abilities. And really, it's the ultimate and the taunt is what she brings to the table, plus some other things. But those other things are good enough to allow her to hold down this solo side lane role. Bacchus and Hunbots were looking maybe to set up some aggression. Uh-oh, and they may still find it here. Falling back is Shing. They're going to burp out onto the Poseidon. Poseidon is going to go ahead and try to get out of there. But, Fenrir are going to pull Sun Wukong away after that ultimate was used. They maybe had turnaround potential there on to your Poseidon with that Kraken. Zapman trying to rally in for that kill on Fenrir. Also, Dignitas really looking to set up a lot of rotation around this map. It's also worth noting, guys, this is being played on a North American server in between the two North American teams. We are 4.5 minutes into the game here, 0-0, with a slight gold advantage in favor of Team Dignitas.
And Dignitas really wanted to bring that kill, and Fenrir's leap was timed excellently, getting away from not only the attackers he was already facing, but the Apollo ultimate just dropping in from the sky. So very well played by him, allowing him to get away and still keeping that burst blood out of Dignitas' hands, which, again, really what they're going to be looking to do. That was a pretty good initiation, though.
Yeah, it was. And they maybe had that opportunity to turn it around onto the Hunbot. Sorry, I called him Sun Wukong. That skin always throws me. But weren't able to get that coordination together. And, really, Poseidon's made it out of the danger zone now with his Doom Orb. He's got his boots 1 up, so he has that little bit of move speed and his Doom Orb finished. And he's probably feeling pretty good about where he's sitting right now.
If there's anyone, I mean, not even going to talk about the fact that it's MLC stealth. If there's anyone that can get away with the Doom Orb start and not have a huge problem, it's going to be Poseidon, just because of the massive amount of move speed that god already gets by simply existing. So it's not as big of a risk, obviously, as it would be taking it on any other god in the mid lane.
Sure. Yeah, that number 2 steroid does give him some additional move speed, as does his passive if he has it charged up from auto attack. So, he is a fairly good candidate in that mid lane for that. I mean, obviously, Isis seems to fit that build as well. I'm a little surprised to not see the Doom Orb out on her, preferring that tanky presence, as she does kind of have to get in the thick of it to really make good use of her ultimate. And Cronus as well. I mean, we didn't see super aggressive Doom Orb timings on him. We did see Doom Orb pickup, but, not really in the same way. Poseidon seems to be the preference there, in that his turnaround potential is just so high with the burst damage coming up from his Kraken, Tidal Wave, and Whirlpool combination.
We have a little bit of an attempted initiation by Shing. He tries to jump in there, but misses the stun on his leap, and Bacchus throws out the burp just to make sure he can't make anything happen there. So after that little failed gank, he is just going to drift back into the jungle. And we've seen, we've talked about a lot of the other players and gods. I'm surprised we haven't touched on the Shing Fenrir yet, because we've seen Shing's Fenrir come out quite a few times already, and it is a terrifying force to behold. But so far, hasn't been able to make anything happen.
Yeah, and that's a really good point that you bring up there. I mean, the god and player combination. Initiation on the left side of the map. It's gonna be first. Well, we got to go back for that one. I saw it starting to happen here. It's going to be the rotation from the Hunbots coming in. They're going to catch out the Ymir here. Ally takes a lot of damage even after the knockup. Zapman coming in on that ultimate. Picks up the first one. Nice rotation coming up from Lasses. And a heads-up play by Zapman to know, hey, I should just go ahead and right away channel my ultimate so I can get in here and finish off this fight. We also had Anatoly porting in as well with his ultimate. So, quite a lot of rotation coming from Dignitas. And this is the lineup they chose. Athena and Apollo, both very capable of getting around the map.
They have a lot of global presence there, so it's going to be very difficult to deal with, just because the entire team can pretty much suddenly show up at any point between Apollo and Athena. They're going to go where they please there. So a 2v2 could very quickly turn to a 2v4 and a stomp. But Dignitas was able to use that global presence, was able to leverage it very well and pick up that first blood.
Yeah, I want to point out something I'm saying here that I really love is that Lassus is going to be carrying a teleport now with his wards on the jungle. Hunbot's able to rally to a tower if they look to dive and turn that on this ult. Another thing to note here, KO on the Neath. Going to be really the first time we're going to see Shard use a competitive play here. Going up against that Apollo Bacchus, you know, it seems like a good pickup. They have a lot of abilities that they're going to spam the entire time. Yeah, I mean, we'll see if that does pay out for him.
And it will be interesting after the changes to Shard to see how powerful it really is. Because, I mean, obviously its first incarnation was a little bit ridiculous, but it was removed pretty quickly there. And I haven't, like you said, I haven't really seen it used a whole lot since then. So we're going to see now what it's actually capable of, especially on a support carry like Neath, who's already got a lot of escape potential and is difficult to pin down, with the addition of now having a burst heal. Oh, Matty Pocket, so close to that blue buff, but it was not meant to be.
Yeah, just not for him. He's going to be forced to use Hand of the Gods out, yeah, onto the creep wave there. And really, it's been a fair trade so far between Anatoly and Matty. Basically, dead even on farm. We have some initiation. It's going to be the Kraken ultimate on to Lassus. They're caught out in the jungle by Fenrir of Xing, and that's a great assist for him. It's a kill coming out for the Poseidon as well, and that means the Stealth is going to be in a good position. However, look at what Bess is like to do here. He's going to go the Doom Orb as well. Perfectly happy to match Doom Orb with Doom Orb, it looks like, and you know, he's going to be a little bit behind in building his stacks, but he does have that Vampiric Shroud and cooldown boots to his advantage.
And that was a fantastic ult combination by the Fenrir and Poseidon there. And that is another one of those things we've seen used time and time again. The Fenrir Poseidon combined gank technology is pretty difficult to fight against, because all Fenrir's got to do is pick you up and stand still, and Poseidon's just going to go ham on your face. I mean, there's not a whole lot of getting out of that. But it was a very good response to Dignitas' first blood, and it's brought them up to only 600 gold behind now, so they are very close. And we have a bit going down in the mid lane here. It's Fenrir forced to jump away as Lassus jumps in. Zapman comes down with his ultimate. The ultimate comes out from Humbots as well. It's a lot of damage coming out on Xing. He's got the Aegis. Is it going to be enough? No, it is not, as the best also rotates around. Just 4 members of Dignitas converging on Xing there, making sure they get him shut down.
Yeah, you know, it's... For a 4-man rotation to get a single kill, you know, it kind of needed to be the jungler or the mid laner there. Of course, that's why they would rotate to this lane. But, you know, really you would maybe even prefer to see some tower pressure put out with a rotation this strong. But Neath could be in some trouble here in the jungle. She's going to try to steal this buff, but will she get it in time? The Hunbot's leap will slow her, allowing I need to catch out. And if they stun out KO at this point, he could be in some trouble, but they're just going to ignore him, in fact, and just move back into the lane as Poseidon's rotation was coming right behind it, as is Allied. Allied is sitting on no blink yet. A little bit strange for him, in fact, on this Amir. Generally likes to pick up that blink.
Yeah, and then they definitely had a 4-man rotation coming from Cognitive there. They did have a ward from Team Dignitas deep in Cog's jungle, so I'm sure they probably saw that one coming, decided it wasn't really worth their time. We got a bit of initiation. Belch comes out from Bacchus, is countered by the Ragnarok coming out from Xing. Aegis Amulet, but it's still not going to be enough to save either Bacchus or Apollo, as they are both torn down by that eruption of damage. Cog basically throwing everything they had right there.
Yeah, and down will go, you know, slowing down Zapman's farm here while KO continues to get his farm out is a really good look for them. That means KO's going to get basically a free back in terms of his farm compared to the Apollo, and he's going to take it. And now, you know, sitting at, you know, really a nice farm, 4,400 here for the Neath, but he is still 600 gold behind that Apollo with his early 2 kills, so even that death not going to send him back that much, only 2 assists sitting on the Neath, and it looks like they're actually going to hit their Heartseeker timings about the same time.
Yep, and they will both get set up together. They're both going to be about even in the Heartseeker department, and they're not going to be terribly different in damage either. The one difference is Neath did decide to forego 3rd rank of her boots to go for Heartseeker, so Apollo does have that extra bit of penetration, which early game, as people are starting to pick up a couple of their more defensive items, that could be a decent difference, the fact that he's got a little bit of pen there, whereas Neath hasn't been able to really pick anything up yet.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, the boots do grant flat pen. You know, it's a value of pen, not a percentage, so it will take you under 0, allowing you to have amplified damage. Although I do believe at this point, yeah, most people are going to have that at least a little bit of base armor to negate that early pen. So you're not going to be doing amplified damage, certainly. But, you know, every little bit counts, certainly. And now, you know, basically means that he cannot win an auto attack war with Zapman at this point.
Yep, and that is what we've seen going down every time we've seen Apollo show up recently. Apollo really, as far as carries go, is fantastic at just going in and laying down a spectacular amount of damage. It's just kind of what he does. He does that, and then he gets out of any situation he pleases. As Poseidon just dives in there on the Bacchus. That's just the burst damage from that Poseidon. There's just not even a tank, not even Bacchus can stand up to that at all.
Yeah, and Best has DC'd out here, in fact, on the Agni. And they're going to go ahead and tower dive here. Will Team Cog on to Anatoly. Rotation comes in from Lasses. Will they be able to turn this around? It doesn't look like it just yet. And yeah, still no Best. Oh, wait, here comes the ultimate coming out onto Shing. Do they have enough damage? Athena ultimate being channeled. It looks like the leap's going to be enough. Yes, it will be indeed. The ultimate comes out, but the Neath ultimate coming across the map now on to Lasses. Anatoly cannot block this, so they're going to have chain CC, but in comes Zatman. Zatman wants to do the damage and try to turn this thing around. He's going to get the double mez coming out. Porting in now is the last on the back of that Furious Monkey. They may not have enough to pick up the Amir, even with the knockup. No, they don't. Too much tanky presence there, and that is going to be the end of that initiation. Still DC'd out is that Agni.
Yeah, Amir is just a little bit too big and angry, though, and the loss of the Best is going to be a big thing. It's going to hurt them. Hopefully, he will be able to reconnect here pretty shortly, as assuming the pause feature, of course, is still down, unfortunately. That Ymir still is hanging out in lane, though, very, very low. With Zapman just keeping him kind of pushed back into their tower. Oh, now he is going to go home then. Apollo's just going to run in and so beautiful. Oh, so close! Just not quite enough to finish off Ymir. Just the tiniest little bit of health left. Almost got picked off with that lazy back by the So Beautiful.
Yeah, now, you know, sitting on the blue buff here is Zatman. He's going to be able to put a lot of harass on the Matty Pocket here. But the question is, how are they going to, you know, really come back from losing Best here? That's so much damage. You know, they put basically, you know, so much of their farming experience onto that mid laner. Zatman, of course, has a pretty good time putting out tower pressure on to the Odin here. But, you know, he is susceptible to a Fenrir gank rotating over if, you know, if they're able to execute it. So, still a scary situation, even if you are that Apollo. Ragnarok just brings so much to the table with these kind of get-out-of-jail-free carries like Neath and Apollo.
It looks like they are all going to kind of converge in the mid lane here. A Furious Monkey teleport was not really what Lasses wanted to happen at this moment in time. Athena is going to ult in, though the Kraken's going to come out, but the Athena ult's going to be enough to keep him alive for now. Manages to get his ult out before he goes down. Neath ultimate coming in onto Athena is going to stun her and stop her from being able to chase down. She just does not have enough damage, really, to push down this Poseidon. But she is going to just chase him out of her tower range. They dove hard on there, and here comes the Bacchus. Belch coming out on Poseidon is going to land the stun as Zapman comes in from the skies and is able to take down the Best. Now Ymir not in a great situation, though, popping his ultimate, and Apollo is not quite able to get away before that nuke ends him. And now Matty Pocket jumping in to join the fray. Everyone just showing up in the mid lane. He's got Anita trapped in that ultimate there, and Neath going in as damage. Shadow Q is going to jump in to try to assist him here, but it looks like they are just going to disengage, as all the Dignitas has got left are some very beefy tanks that aren't responding very well to aggression.
Yeah, I mean, they're able to get it, and look, it's going to be a blink coming out on Apollo, leads me to believe he's going to be building into combat blink to try to deal with any burst damage coming out. He's going to try to beads and combat blink out of those sticky situations of the maybe the Ragnarok Kraken ultimate combination. So we'll see what they're able to do.
We definitely will, and hopefully, I'm hoping the Best is able to get back in this game here pretty shortly, because we have got the makings of a very, very good game. Dignitas still, even with their DC sitting on just shy of 1,000 gold lead here. If they can just hold out for a little while whatever happened to the Best is resolved, we are still going to have ourselves an epic battle.
Yeah, you know, you see the slap fight going down the left, and the right side lane here between the two tanks, and it's only taken quite a bit of damage from the minions here, but you know, perfectly happy to throw out their spells onto each other, and really Anatoly wins the race to the mystical mark. However, is behind on boots to the Odin. We're gonna have a gank come out on the mid lane, and Lassus is gonna fall just like that. Allied picks up that kill with their rotation. It just feels like Cognitive Gaming isn't gonna have any of the scruples that maybe Denial and A had, taking advantage of their 5-4, and they're gonna stay on the aggressive here and take out this mid lane tower and just continue this push, because why not? I mean, really, what can they do? They've taken out that major teamfight ultimate of Hunbots, and you have a Kraken available and on deck to use here. Here comes initiation on to Shadow Cube, and trying to stay in. This is Athena with that Apollo ultimate coming in, but Amir going to be perfectly happy to channel his ultimate. No damage gets out of it. I'm sorry, I did hit the Apollo there. It looked like down falls Poseidon. That's really good news for Dignitas, as that's going to stall this push for now, and they may pick up another one on Allied here. Indeed, they will. So great turnaround by Dignitas there.
That was a fantastic, turning a death of their Hunbots into a big gank with, again, the global presence. As you saw Apollo flying from the sky and Athena just jump over as well. Oh, she didn't actually use her ultimate, but so I guess just Apollo on that one. Everyone just kind of shows up. Dignitas is just doing a fantastic job of responding to rotations very quickly. Whenever a situation arrives, the entire team is there on the scene within seconds. And I'm sure that's not the last time we're going to see them turn a gank on one of their own team members around into 2 kills for themselves.
Yeah, indeed. So, you know, that keeps them evened up here. 35,000 farm to 36,000 farm. Slightly in favor of Cognitive. It is 7-7. Cognitive is really trying to put pressure around the map, though, with their player advantage. Best still not able to reconnect just yet. hopefully we'll get an update on that shortly. Last is doing his best to keep his farm up in the jungle, and will we see this Hunbots have enough to take this game over? He's really their carry option right now, as Zapman really needs to stay around, split pushing, and try to put pressure on some of these towers. But I mean, as you see, right lane is going to be now pressured by Fender and Odin. They can put out quite a bit with that Odin attack speed steroid.
And they definitely can, especially on someone who's going to have as high damage on their auto attacks as Fender does. And as Athena shows up here to contest them, as well as Bacchus jumping in, trying to stop them from being able to take down this tower. You see the beads come out from Shing, so they're unable to keep him. As the entire team just shows up, Zapman takes off into the sky here, gliding along. Hunbat's ultimate comes out, and it's going to be enough combined with Zapman to drop Fenrir, although Hunbat's life is lost in the process. And they look like they're just going to kind of disengage. Shadowcue kind of getting in a little deep here with MLC Stealth and Matty Pocket, not quite wanting to give up on this fight. Looks like he's just going to zone them out to make sure they don't come back to contest Zapman, who has got what maybe literally the smallest sliver of health I've ever seen.
Yeah, there we go. It's going to be basically, Cognitive trying to maintain their pressure here best, not really able to reconnect just yet, ladies and gentlemen. It's also important to note that the pause feature is unfortunately not working at this point after the recent resets and server issues. Apparently that feature did break during what it took to basically fix the servers, get them back to working condition. So unfortunately it's not going to be available. However, it is going to be a Gold Fury attempt here coming out from Cognitive. In comes the Bacchus. Dignitas is going to steal it, and it looks good for them so far if they're able to disengage here. Shadowcue trying to get out. Do they have to change CC? Intoxicate comes out. A lot of damage coming in. Doesn't matter. KO still falls, but they do take that Gold Fury, and that puts Dignitas really 100 gold behind and just still in this game.
And that was a fantastic steal. Shadowcue sacrificed his life, but if there's a thing worth sacrificing your life for, it is absolutely a Gold Fury when you're behind and when your god is not worth that much to the other team. So they managed to pick that up, like you said, close up that gold gap. Now there's only about 300 gold difference between the two teams. A fantastic steal. Absolutely fantastic steal by Shadowcue.
Yeah, so here we go. What will they be able to do as Dignitas? I mean, they have this Athena ultimate available. They can steroid up one player really, really heavily, and you got to think that's what they're going to be looking to do. They're going to be looking to just get basically an unkillable Apollo or Hunbots wrecking havoc in these team fights, and that's really the only option. Last is going to eat a Kraken, and he goes 100-0 just like that. Out of that one spell, Doom Orb, MLC, Stealth, finished 4 items now, sitting on, a casual 275 magical damage, just so much, and it blows up that Hunbots.
Yeah, 275, no big deal. Yeah, and that's Poseidon's potential right there. That is the reason he is such a strong god, is just that so much burst. I mean, Hunbots literally could not react. He just died. He was alive, and then he suddenly wasn't anymore, and there was no time for any sort of response from Lasses. Just the amount of damage MLC is able to punt out is crazy, and we see a lot of initiation going down here in the right lane as Ultimate comes out from Fenrir, picking up an Adderley and drops him into the Whirlpool and the stun, and then that is going to be enough to finish him off there as he is unable to escape that. All 5 members of COG now pushing down the right lane, bearing down on Bacchus as Apollo split pushes up the left tower, again doing the Apollo thing.
Yeah, and they're going to continue this push on in. No reason not to. Apollo, they're perfectly happy to let him split push for now. And Agni is still in the base. Shing is sitting in the base. Maybe Shing is DC'd out as well here. No, I'm sorry. He was just porting in. He's going to go try to contest the Apollo over here. We'll take a quick look at him. He's not going to have enough damage to pick up Zapman, it looks like. That Neath ultimate, unlikely to be enough, but possible. The tower is going to fall as the teams continue to push in. We'll see. No, not enough damage to pick him up. And now will we see the disengage? We will. Disengage coming out from Cognitive is down that right side lane. They finished off all of the remaining outer turrets.
And that was a fantastic push they had there. Like you said, Cognitive has got absolutely no problem with leveraging the fact that they are a man up here, and they are just grouping up and pushing away, because it's going to be incredibly difficult for Dignitas to stand against them short one player. I mean, it's not like we're at the skill level where Dignitas can just totally walk all over them. These are both fantastic teams, and that man advantage is indescribable, and they're pushing it as hard as they can. And now they've only got 2 towers left standing for Team Dignitas. Zapman managed to get the tier 1 left tower and was so very, very close to getting the tier 2 with his split push, and just a tiny bit of persuasion is going to finish that one off pretty easily.
Yeah, he's probably just going to sit here and work on getting his creep score up a bit. Probably look for that ultimate to come back up, and then go in, get the last couple hits on that tower, and ult right on out when they try to respond to it. So that one's basically in the hole for him whenever he wants to come back. So just once again, guys, the pause functionality is not currently working in the game. However, we wouldn't be pausing this game out for 25 minutes due to best DCing, unfortunately. So that is, basically at this point, the game would have continued on, and, we're really operating under normal procedures. Unfortunately, DCs do happen, and in this case, it's going to be affecting Team Dignitas. But here comes Cog now, pushing down the mid lane. Will Zapman try to respond and get that split push going again? It doesn't look like it for now, and they really have to be wary, because if they lose a fight here by too much, you may see a Fire Giant also go in favor of Cognitive Gaming.
And that's something that Dignitas absolutely does not want to happen right now, as they're already a little bit behind. Anatoly cut out a little bit. The Ragnarok comes out from Fenrir. He is just going to get picked up and held in place while everyone goes ham, but he is just so very tanky. It doesn't even drop half of his health there. The shell was popped, as you saw. Ult comes out from Neath, but Hunbots is able to jump away in time and not take any damage from the crack, and now we have the entirety of COG going ham on Shadowq, who was trapped in the Odin ult. As Athena comes in, Athena is going to bomb down, land some damage on Allied there, as Bacchus jumps back into the fray, dropping very low. Hunbots ultimate and a Neath auto is enough to finish him off. Hunbots is forced to jump away, but Fenrir jumps. Shing lands right on top of him, finishing him off. They're Allied at the tiniest bit of health. They just want to finish him off, but he drops a beautiful wall to hide behind, forcing Anatoly to go home as Allied teleports away, and Anatoly is tower dove into non-existence, leaving nothing but Zapman alive as defense on Dignitas. So now, like you said, we are probably going to see a Fire Giant attempt from COG.
Yeah, they come in. No, it looks like they want to get this push. They want to just up their gold, it looks like here. They don't have a huge gold advantage at this point, only about 4,000 gold after, really being, in a fairly dominant position. Oh, Zapman gets stunned out. He's not going to have an ultimate available. He has a mez and a dash. Is it going to be enough? Looks like they want to dive this. MLC Stealth wants to continue in. There's the Odin Leap and the Whirlpool, and that's enough to finish off one measly Apollo. KO here sitting on the rank 2 shard. The Heartseeker and Executioner finished. We don't see the double stacking items coming out from the NA scene. But now moving into the Phoenixes is Cognitive Gaming, and you get a feeling this one is starting to get out of hand.
Yeah, that's an effective deicide there, with the only surviving member being the best, who is just sat happily in his well, contemplating his very existence. So COG is going to come out here with the mid lane pushed all the way down through the Phoenix, and they are just going to capitalize on this advantage and steamroll through as much as they can as they walk back down the map. You can see Ymir heading over to the Fire Giant cave. It looks like, with Allied in there, yep, he is at least going to slap it and walk away. But it looks like they are definitely setting up to take this Fire Giant.
Yeah, and then here you go. He's going to start that slapping in earnest now, as Fenrir's going to come over as well. Shing is here. The rotation coming out from Dignitas over to the right side here. You see Bacchus waiting on the Athena ult to come in. Last is trying to buy time with his Age Amulet. Here comes the Athena coming in, doing a lot of burst damage, actually. This is actually a really good engagement for Dignitas. The Kraken ultimate comes out, but it's not enough to pick up Last. I'm sorry, it is, because Shing is in the back there as well. Shadowq may be falling here. Shing going to barely get out with his life, if he does indeed. Trying to find him as Anatoly, not going to find it. Shadowq going to fall as well to this Whirlpool, it looks like. Anatoly may be falling if they have the follow-up. They do from the Odin Leap, and that is going to be a wipe for Dignitas. Zapman now coming back up, and this should be a free Fire Giant, unless there's some kind of miracle still coming out from the Apollo.
Zapman is completely alone for another 40 seconds, as COG only lost Ymir, one of their support tanks, and still have Maddie, who is a very, very capable tank. They're going to tear down this Fire Giant. Zap is trying to ult in here, just going ham. He's going to drop his ult exactly on the entire team and just go to town on Maddie Pocket. He's not having any of that. Not having any of that at all, as COG picks up the Fire Giant and just slaps Zap silly. And now they have absolutely uncontested push for a while.
Yeah, and there is the Fire Giant going the way of Cognitive Gaming. It looked like beginning of that fight, they got a great Athena ultimate and a great Bacchus Intoxicate off. Just didn't have the damage to shore it up with only 3 members versus the 4, fifth rotating in from Cognitive. And Cognitive does take that Fire Giant down. Stealth building his stacks back up here. Let's take a quick look at his magical power on this Poseidon. It's sitting at nearly 500, so he really has that endgame damage now. It's going to be very hard for them to deal with his Kraken. I mean, as you see in every team fight basically at this point, forced to pile on is Dignitas without that range damage of Agni. They have so much melee and close range damage besides that outside of the Apollo, who really also kind of likes to get in there and dash through and use his mez. They're just getting dominated by this Kraken.
Yeah, they are just really stuck out. Of all the people they could have lost, that was a very, very big loss there. And now you just see Cognitive taking full advantage of this Fire Giant, pushing all the way down the left lane. That tier 2 tower is gone. They're going to push right in this Phoenix, and it would be mind-blowing if they did not go in here to finish the game. So most of the team except Zapman is up. Zapman will be here momentarily, and we're going to have the last stand of Dignitas here in their own throne room as the ultimates come out. The Kraken, the Hunbot ult, doing a lot of damage here. Odin dropping the Ring of Honor, keeping Shing inside with the Minotaur as they go ham and keeping Dignitas out. And at the end of the day, that is what they needed. Shing just needed a little bit of alone time to talk to his big cow friend, and that was all they needed.
Yes, congratulations to Team Cognitive. They take out Dignitas to move on to the final round, where they'll be going against the winner of the next game we'll be bringing to you shortly, Denial NA versus SK Gaming. But here, taking a look at the stats, of course, Ogden being played by the best doesn't get very much farm at all, considering he was sitting in the wall for most of that game. Not too much to talk about in terms of itemization. Fairly straightforward. We don't see the double stacking items like we saw in the EU scene on those range carries. Poseidon goes for a very aggressive kind of quote-unquote new style build here with that Doom Orb Boots, Focus Voidstone combination. Delaying the Gem of Isolation to his 4th item here. But, you know, all around well played by Cognitive. And, I mean, you know, really the odd man out there was KO on that Neath. He seemed to, you know, just kind of sit and farm for most of that game. And then came out with a fully stacked Heartseeker Executioner moving into Deathbringer as well.
Yep. And that's all pretty much standard. There are no real surprises. We saw Natalie pick up the Shell, which we've seen come in a couple times there, and actually saved his life on at least 1 or 2 occasions. That Shell on an already super tanky Athena that goes right to Mystical Mark for soloing, of course. Basically impossible to tear down. Pretty much just a giant walking juggernaut while the Shell is online with that raw, flat 15% damage taken reduction. It's pretty gross. And actually, you can also see what I think's a little interesting numbers-wise is just this sheer amount of damage, player damage, that Anatoly was able to throw out with Athena, the majority of which I'm sure were just the ults that were getting dropped directly on Cog's head as he was favoring Lasses and Shadowq with their ability to jump in and make sure that ult landed where it was needed. It just does such a phenomenal amount of basically guaranteed damage unless you're able to CC and keep away the target of her ultimate.
Yeah, but geez, I mean, what a just tremendous performance by MLC Stealth. 420 gold a minute there, 25,000 player damage. I mean, you're absolutely right. Anatoly putting out 20k is ludicrous for a support Athena. But, you know, still, I mean, it really showing how well that god can be played. I think there's Anatoly, some great ultimates on the back of Shadowq as well, with great positioning there from Dignitas. But it all comes down to Stealth. They're putting out 25,000 player damage, 420 gold a minute, and just such presence in the team fight. Also putting out over 100,000 creep damage. Great farm, great team fight presence, and just all-around great play from MLC Stealth in that game. But, ladies and gentlemen, that will take us into our next matchup. It's going to be the gentlemen of SK Gaming going up Denial NA. We'll be moving into that match shortly here, guys. Going to throw you over to a splash screen for just a second, get with the admin, get everything set up, and then we'll be coming back with our continuing coverage of the Team Dignitas Smite Cup for Squiddiiish. I am HiRez Bart, and we'll see you guys in just a couple of minutes.